So I told you I kind of was into sewing again. And some of you have asked or agreed for me to show you some of my sewing. So I will do so today in an episode about my knitting adventures, a regular episode about my knitting adventures. So maybe now I should call these my making adventures, but I will show that at the end of the episode so that if you're not at all interested into sewing, you can skip that. So hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to my very small YouTube channel, mostly about knitting and today about sewing for a little bit. My name is Isabelle. I am in France and I'm going to be talking about what I've been making in the past few weeks, because as I had other episodes about my Yarn by Year project and my vacation, what I bought during my vacation, it's been quite a while since I've been recording such a video. So if you are interested into my knitting adventures, if my accent and my mistakes or hesitations do not bother you too much, please stay tuned. Okay, so first, what am I wearing? I'm filming this just before I go to work. I'm wearing my Madeleine sweater. I knit this sweater last year between April and May 2022. I used Holzgarn Coast, I think. No, tides, that I held double. The colorway is pearl. I used 4mm needles. I don't think I was on gauge once again for this sweater, and I made size 2, which is usually not the one size I need for myself. So one of you also has asked for me to describe my process when I adjust a pattern for my yarn, my gauge, and when I usually knit off gauge. So I will do that, and Onyx is here, so I'm stopping the video. Okay, it's in, and as you may know, I don't like, when I'm going away from the house, I don't like to have my cats outside. There are many reasons. I will link again down below episode number 100, where I answered Q&A. I had answered a few questions, and I explained all about my cat. So if you're interested, I will link the episode down below. And I had been calling him before I started to record, and he was not coming right away. So I started to record, and then he came back. So he knows when I call him, I'm going to be leaving the house and I want him to be back. Anyway, so yes, what I was saying is that I am going to describe the process I'm using to adjust a pattern size to my gauge and my yarn and my needle size, mostly when these do not match, and how I do change sizes and how I make my calculations. Before I do that, I will do that later on. Before I do that, I want to know if I can just talk it through. I have to try it out. If I can talk it through, or if I need to make schematics, and if I do need to make schematics, I'll need some other setup. So I'll see. So anyway, my Madeleine sweater, and I'm going to work, and it's quite a nice weather today. Not too warm, not too cold. We are at the end of August, and I will wear it with my huge Slip Extravaganza shawl. So I forgot to say, Madeleine sweater. The Madeleine sweater is by Sumin Kim, and so my Slip Extravaganza, of course, about Stephen West. And this huge shawl, I usually, when I wear it in place of a coat or a jacket or something, I usually wear it the way I just put it. I put it on my shoulders, and I use the very big wings to tuck it under on one side, tuck it on that side, and I kind of place it like that so that, and it doesn't move. It's so big and a bit heavy, it doesn't move. So I like my Sleep Stravaganza. This is one of the biggest shawls I have. I like it for that, and I chose to show both of you to you today because I haven't been doing so in a very long time. So okay, no finished objects for today, so that's gonna be quick. And I'm gonna move into my works in progress. My first one, I'm going to show it to you because I have been working on, but it's still not finished. It's my Powder Puff Call by Branca Medlock. This is what it should look like. So both the yarn and the pattern were a gift by Rosemary, and I still have, I guess, 5 or 6 repeats to be making. So I've been knitting on the call. I know I'm gonna love it. People are commenting on my knitting because as it's a smaller project, so this is all what I have left on the mohair. I have plenty. It's a smaller project that I bring with me in my cocoon tree bag that Amy Palco gave me once she had a giveaway on her Instagram account. And the color is stunning, and people mostly talk about the color that they find absolutely stunning. So I'm working on it. I'm bringing it with me. I had to go to several medical appointments, bring my son also for a medical appointment. I went a couple times to the movie theater. So this one is still going, and I'm going to be finished when I'm going to be finished, and it will be replaced by a hat that I want to knit for a colleague. So I'd better work on that. So my second work in progress is my Missoni Accomplished that you have already seen part of it. It's not finished, it's still a work in progress. Missoni Accomplished by Espace Tricot. I'm knitting with the Romafinul that my colleague brought me from Bergen, and when he was having a work session over there. So I'm knitting off gauge once again. I'm using 3.5 millimeter needles to knit the sweater, 3.25 millimeter needles for the ribs, and 3.75 millimeter needles for the collar work. So last time I talked about this sweater, have I said everything I wanted to say about it for the... Yes, I guess so. Last time I talked about the sweater, I had stopped because I was running out of the dark gray colorway. So I do not recall if I had said I was buying another skein and where I did buy it. So I bought another skein in France from Laine et Tricot, and I kind of, maybe I should have bought 2 because I'm waiting out. I'm on the first rib row, the first row ribbing, because I've been waiting out what was left, and I decided I had to start the ribbing before I run out once again. So maybe I should have bought 2 skeins. And so I did some kind of a fade to change between the 2 colors, because the 2 balls, because even though they were not the same colorway, I did not think there was much of a difference in the skein, and I guess you can't see any real difference. So I used the beginning of the fade from my sorrel sweater to go from one skein to the other. And I'm now on the skein that I bought. It's on the floor, and I've started the rib. So I will stand out to show it to you. Yes, not stand out, but stand up. So this is, of course, you can see I'm a real YouTuber because I have a nice sweater and my sweatpants before I wear my more formal pants. So you see it's longer than the Madeleine sweater. and I'm still gonna have the ribbing to go, and this is what I've left. I think I will have enough to finish the ribbing. I've been waiting the yarn out, and I'm quite pleased because the color work perfectly aligns, and I'm happy with the rest of the body being on the darker gray. I did not want to finish it with the white because I think white gets a bit more dirty more easily, and I did not have enough of the light gray to have another band here or a white stripe here, and the original pattern doesn't call for an additional stripe here, but of course it's only two colors, so the fact that there is one stripe on the sleeve, as there is no other color work than the stripes, there is not different colors, it has a different kind of a different look, but I like it that way. I think it's going to be quite nice. I've been trying it on, and I think it's going to be the perfect length for me. The Madeleine sweater is a bit short because, as you can see, it's not too short, but I'm a bit conscious about what's happening around my waist for now. So I think the Missoni Accomplished is gonna cover that, and there is a bit of ease, not more than the Madeleine sweater, a bit of ease. So maybe there is less than 10 centimeter of ease, and this is usually what I like. And what I haven't told you is that the Missoni Accomplished lives in my bag that Atelier Pure Laine, Frédéric, gave me the first time I went there when I bought yarn from her. We'll report a bit later on, maybe not that episode because it's gonna be too long. I went to a knit day. It was not the weekend. I'm recording on the Tuesday 29th of August, so not past weekend but the weekend before. I went on the Saturday for a knit day. There is another one next Saturday, but I won't be able to make it because it's 2 hour drive, so 2 hours drive, so it's a bit far away. And during that knit day, I knit a lot, and also I bought some of her new fingering, the Hampshire Down on the figurine weight. This is the first time she's carrying it out, so I will report that a bit in a next episode. But anyway, yeah, a very nice bag, very nice canvas bag, and very well made and kind of sturdy. Okay, next work in progress is a project you haven't seen yet, unless you follow me on Instagram. I casted on with some of the Nutiden yarn Caroline so kindly and so generously gifted me with. So I'm using the parallel, I think that's parallel colorway. This is my second plate. I have started on knitting on the second plate, and it broke out. I'm not changing colors now, but it broke out. I was knitting on the knit day at Frédéric's farm with other people, and there was quite a bit of wind, and the wind was strong enough to break the yarn thread. Fortunately, I was at the end of a row. So parallel that I'm pairing with this very white and I think it's Dufkela. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Okay, so what did I cast on? I casted on the Fleur Shawl by Espace Tricot, and I had this shawl in my library for quite a long time. So you see, I've knit quite a bit on it. I've made 2 bubbles. I'm in the middle of the next repeat, and I will have another plain stripe, and then I will have another bubble row. I am not sure I will end up with bubbles. So it's here, the beginning of the shawl. I'm not sure I will end up with bubbles the way the pattern calls for. I will have to decide once I'm there. I have a lot to say about that. First, that's quite a knitting experience for me, because and I'm not quite sure I enjoy it that much, because I've realized knitting with that yarn that so I'm a picker. I wrap my yarn around my pinky finger and my second finger, and I knit with the yarn on my right hand. This is my right hand, so it's inverted for you. And thing is, I think I like to have tension on my yarn. So that's one thing that makes it difficult for me, because with the unspun yarn, that breaks just by looking at it. Maybe I have the beginning of the thread here. You can see here, just breaks just by looking at it. So that's one thing. It's a bit difficult for me to be knitting not having tension on my yarn. It's a new knitting experience, and I thank Caroline very much for giving me the opportunity to try it out. Second, I decided to make bubbles. What was I thinking? Because making bubbles with a yarn that breaks just by looking at it, that's another challenge, another level of another challenge. So I did the first bubble row, it's here, and the way Espace Tricot called them for, and then I made them my way here. So the way Espace Tricot, it's a free pattern, so you can have a look for yourself. So you knit one, yarn over, knit one, yarn over, knit one. So it's on 5 stitches, and what they call for is a purl on the other side, go back and purl on the other side, and then just slip the stitches to make the bubble. That's what I did on the first repeat. They are a bit smaller than the one I've made on the second bubble repeat. So I knit one additional row, so the bubble is a bit bigger, but there is a bit more fabric there. And I wrap, once I slip all the stitches, I wrap, and into the first one, I wrap twice my yarn around the bubble. This is also what I'm used to be doing. I think they call for wrapping the yarn around. I'm not sure I recall, but at least only once. I wrap it twice. And so my second bubbles are much bigger. So I'll see what I'll do with my my next bubble repeat. I think I'm going to keep making them as big as the last repeat I made, because I think they are less fragile with an additional knit row. Maybe it's just my impression. The other thing is, I was thinking maybe there is too much of a contrast in the shawl once it's knit between the kind of a deeper pink. When I was thinking, how does this color look? Because it's a very multi-dimensional. You see it more here. There are very deeper parts and grayer parts. It looks to me like a glass of wine or a strawberry puree that would have been left out in the sun and gone bad. So there is a bit of gray parts. It's desaturated. It's a very interesting color, and the dove color is a pure white. So I was thinking maybe there was too much of a contrast, more of a contrast than what I had first anticipated, but I like it very much. The shawl is getting quite big, quite big. So that's the bottom where I'm knitting it. So it's going to be even bigger. So it's going to be a big shawl. I'm using, I do not recall, I think it's 5mm needles. Yes, it's 5mm needles. And maybe you've seen that elsewhere. I'm not sure. I did not make it up myself, but when I wanted to stop my work, I had increased too much and I did not have any needle tip with me, so I used a little stitch marker so these are Hayas needles, a little stitch marker in the hole so that the needle and the stitches won't run away. That's a little trick. I'm not sure I recall where I did see that. I saw that somewhere. So thank you for you, mystery person, who told me how to do that. So yes, quite a knitting experience. I'm holding also. Next difficulty, I forgot to say at the beginning of the presentation. Next difficulty is I'm using the knitted yarn held single, so that's another level of difficulty. I love the fabric it's producing. I love how soft it is, how light it is. If I wear it around myself, it's very soft. It's going to be extremely warm and I'm going to be enjoying this shawl quite a bit. The idea of the shawl was after watching, I'm going to link it down below, Knitting a Good Yarn, one of their last videos. I'm not sure I'm up to date with all of their videos. And they are having a FleurALong cal, and I was thinking, yes, that's the good opportunity for me to be casting on a shawl with knitted. I had another pattern in mind, but I may save it for either the rest of the knitted or some other yarn. The other knitted sweater quantity, or at least 300 grams, that Caroline sent me, I was thinking to be knitting the cathedral sweater with it, held single. Once again, I'm not sure I will do that because of all the stitch motif. I will have to swatch and with the stitch motif and see if the yarn is not too fragile for that, or if I will be able to manage it held single with the lace pattern. But yes, the Fleur shawl, I love it. So I won't be able to thank Caroline or Caroline enough for allowing me to be knitting with one of my yarn, Kryptonite. I will link down below the episode where I was talking about my dream yarn, the one I would not be buying online unless I have knit all my sweaters quantity or my shawls quantities from my own stash. And I would start buying yarn online again after my Yarn No Buy Year project would be completed. I think I still have a couple years ahead of me before I knit everything I have. So yes, I thank Caroline a lot for allowing me with that experience with one of my dream yarns. And I know I've been quite critical about the knitted economical model or sales model. The yarn is really, really nice. We're really worth it. It's up to what people have been talking about, and it was a good thing it was on my dream yarn, because it's really a yarn you can be dreaming of knitting. Okay, next, a bit of sewing project. I started sewing again about a year ago, and I made one little project bag that is kind of a Japanese inspired project bag. You have one a smaller loop, and you thread the bigger loop into it. And it could be, at first I thought I was going to be knitting a project bag, but for now I'm using it to carry around all my little adapters and electrical cords and cables for my computer, my cameras, my phone and everything. As I had told you before, and today is a perfect example. I had not anticipated. I like plain and simple designs. The Madeleine sweater, I love this design. I love the color and everything. And I like to make more playful, colorful, is that the right side? Yes. Colorful shawls, such as the Slip Extravaganza, which is really an extravaganza of colors and design and color work and from Stephen West. I like to pair these accessories that are a bit more colorful and joyful to a very simple and basic and maybe bland to you wardrobe. Same is for accessories. So my handbags are usually colorful, but monoblock. I don't like too much color work on my handbags. But for these little bags, I used what we call wax fabric. I will have to check. I wanted to check before recording, but I forgot. You do say wax also in English. It's usually from the Western Africa type of fabrics, and a very colorful fabrics. So I have quite of a history with that kind of fabric because my uncle lived for over 20 years in Africa, and he used to bring wax fabrics to me, and I used to make stuff with that. Everything has disappeared after I went to the United States. I think I left it with my mother, and I'm not sure what happened to it. So I made this little Japanese inspired bag with African fabric. I lined it with, I'm recycling all of my old bed sheets. So the gray one was from one of my sons, and I'm usually using white sheets for myself because when white is clean, it's white. And I will link the pattern down below. It's in French, but fortunately the schematics are very simple. It's not an easy bag to make because I decided I was going to have the lining with invisible, the sewing line is on the inside, so you don't see it. But that means you sew the lining first, and then you place it inside and you sew the handles next. And that is very difficult to have a clean line here around the handles. And the bags I've been making this year for Christmas have been terrible because I've tried to retrieve my process how I did that, and I could not retrieve, so I had a lot of errors. And for example, that bag where I have all my electrical, my drive and stuff like that in it, this one has a lining with the same fabric because I made two, and two were failures, so I kind of cut the lining, and with the two outside I made one, but here it's not very nice, but with the busy fabric you can kind of forget it's the way it is. So with something in it, you see how it holds. I really like this style. So I will also link the site I've been buying the fabric, because I'm not sure I recall. This one I had in my drawers for a long time. This one I bought from a French site where the lady brings fabrics back from Ivory Coast and sells them. So at least you can, I'm sure she sells in France. I don't know if she sells overseas. And I really love these fabrics. There is one I'm waiting for because it was out of stock. It went back online when I was on vacation and I had the notification on. And once I looked, it was gone again. So this blue fabric, and when I bought the blue fabric and another one, she gave me that little, so once again, there are some other electrical parts in it, that little piece of fabric, I made another bag in it, lined it in white with my own recycled bed sheets. I have been keeping my bed sheets for a long time for that kind of project, and because I don't like to waste fabric. So yeah, this one she gave the piece, but there was only enough for one little bag. So you see how these little bags look once they have things inside. So I had enough to make two other ones. So these ones are lined with the white fabric, two blue ones because I have been making some other ones and I will show it to you. So these ones are the ones I'm going to be gifting for Christmas. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with that fabric. So with the blue fabric, that one I usually keep one part of the fabric to make a wrap for myself. This one I made one for myself because I like the fabric. This one I did not because I think it was too busy of a color, and red and yellow. I like it on bags, but I don't like it on myself. And I usually sleep during the summertime or in the Pyrenees when it's a bit very warm, wrapped in one of these cotton fabrics that are very easy to wash. It dries flat, and if you don't have anywhere to iron them, you just iron with your hands and it's just fine. So this first set of little bags, and I have not told you, and I think I will have placed a banner on when I was just talking about them at the beginning, and I will link the link where you can find them down below is by Les Yeux en Amande. And she calls it a Japanese style of project bag for knitting, but I use for other things too. The one difference is that on the front of one of the sides, she adds a little pocket, which I did not want to bother with that, and I did not think with an outside pocket it would be that convenient. I would have preferred an inside pocket, and just did not want to fiddle around with that. So all the explanations are in French, but you can watch all the schematics and all the pictures, and you can understand, if you know how to sew, you can understand how to make the bag. And there is a separate file for the pattern itself, and then you can adapt, of course, the pattern. I made the bags the size that her pattern recommended, but I'm sure if you keep the proportions, there is a square where you can have the dimensions and the right proportions, and then you can adjust for the size of the bag. You can make it much bigger if you wish to. Okay, next, my second bag. I don't have the original sample I made for myself. It's in my car and I use it for grocery shopping. It's a bag I have recall to say it right now. It's by Léa Pilea. Once again, the instructions are in French, but with the schematics, I'm sure it's very easy to make. And I'm sure there are going to be many other sites explaining how to make it in English because it's a free pattern. So once again, it's not very difficult. So she calls it a Japanese inspired bag. So it's a bigger bag. It's very easy to make. So maybe I will stand up to show it to you. So yes, it's a much bigger bag. You can wear it on your shoulder or carry it by hand. And I use it for grocery shopping, and I'm sure you can use it also for a project bag. And it's more simple to me to make than the little other ones, because you start with 1 meter, so that's 40 inches side square that you cut in half. So you have two triangles. The tip of one triangle, you have the longer side on the bottom. The tip of one of the triangle you place at the middle of the longer side of the other triangle, and vice versa. The tip of the inverted triangle you put at the middle of the longer side. Then you sew as a square, and I will maybe place the schematics as it's a free pattern, you can see. And you can see it's the sewing line is here. Then you change the direction and you fold the bag, and you knit on the side to end with a knot at the top here, and then you make the corners here so that it sits better when there are things inside. So I made 2 of them with that fabric. This is why I did not have enough to make more little bags with it, and I use it for grocery shopping. In France, you can't. They don't give you plastic bags any longer. It's banned by law. You can't have plastic bags in any shops. Some shops still have paper bags, but not for groceries. For groceries, now what the big grocery stores do is that you can buy canvas bags, tote bags with their big logos, and they will, some of them, not all of them, they will change it for life if the bag breaks. So you buy it once, it's a few euros or maybe sometimes less than €1 or a couple euros, and then for life you will have a bag to grocery shop. Of course, it's the big logo of the brand, so why not? Some others you have to buy the bags, and I've been making this bag thinking I would use it for grocery shopping. So there is another one with the same fabric you've seen previously. This one I lined. This is the first of the series I made again after my sample that was a year ago. And as you've seen the other ones, I haven't lined because the fabric is thick enough so that if you lined it up, here the bag is way too stiff, way too thick, and way too heavy. So I'm still going to be gifting it, and I tried to cut the angles here, but it did not work very well, so it's just a big triangle there with one of the sewing lines here, but I guess you can't see them. The fabric is too busy. Maybe if I put it on the other side, you will be able to see where all the sewing lines are, I guess, if I do that way. So first, once it's all flat, you need, no, you don't need. You sew, I'm not sure you're going to be seeing anything. You sew right in the middle of the square that is formed between the two points, and then you sew on the diagonals, and then you fold it the other way around and you sew along the bigger side. So I should have made a cut here, but it was too much of a hassle, and the fabric is too thick because there are four fabrics there, and on the other sewing line there are 8. It was too heavy, so I did not want to bother with that. So maybe I will keep this one for myself, or maybe I will give it away for Christmas as a Christmas gift. But anyway, I am still sewing these bags for Christmas. So for my kids, for my family, for my sister-in-law, my mother wanted one, and I have one additional fabric I'm going to be showing to you to make other ones. Okay, sorry, I have 2 additional fabrics I want to be using for bags. The first one is the one I bought at the same place a few months ago when I decided I was going to be making the bags again, from Amagate Wax. I will link down below, and I'm sure I've already written on the screen because I don't think I remember to say where I did buy the fabrics. So there is that one. So I'll make one to wrap myself inside and sleep in because I don't like sleeping clothes. Let's put it that way. I usually recycle old dresses or old t-shirts to sleeping, but then I don't feel that good in it. So I've been sleeping for a very long time during the summertime and the spring and the fall when the temperatures are not too low. During the winter time, I usually have long sleeves t-shirt that I've recycled and some knit around myself. So I usually sleep in that, let's say, 2/3 of the year. And so that's one of the fabric I just bought this year. And I completely forgot, but I had decided I had 2 sleeping, how do you call that? Wraps, 2 sleeping, maybe you should see it that way. I have 2 of them, so I decided I was going to use one of them to make the bags. So I still have quite a bit. I'm making a sleeping wrap and the rest bags in that, and with that one too. So I'm not sure I'll be making the exact same bags, or will I venture into a new pattern. It took me such a long time, 2 days. For 2 days, I tried knitting the small bags that were like that again, and I failed, and I failed, and I failed, and I was so frustrated. So now that I've the pattern in my head again, and I can make it quite easily. So I may remain with it, or I may change it. I'm not sure. But I really do like very much the look of this bag, and I usually have them to travel around, or either go to work or travel around. And every time, so this one is the original one I was using. Every time people would say, "Where did you get that bag? Where did you get that bag?" So that's why I decided to make a few of them. And my youngest son had asked for it. So yes, this is why I decided to make a whole series of them. These ones for grocery shopping, I think I will make small ones out of this one, because there are more. I will be able to make a bit more, and maybe the grocery shopping bags into that one, and what remains smaller bags. So I'll see if I keep the same patterns, if I go to another one, you make another one. But if I have to try and fail and try and fail and try and fail, my patience was running out. And fortunately, I found another way to be lining the bags, the little bags, without being too cumbersome or too obvious. My mistakes being too obvious. And fortunately, with such a busy fabric, your mistakes are easily hidden. So that's one of the things that I like with these very, very colorful and bright fabrics. Okay, so that's it for today. My time is running out, so I'm not sure I'm going to go into much of a life update, just a little bit. If you're not interested into life updates, I'm very happy, at least for you, to be with me up to now, and I hope all your makings, all your hand makings are going to be bringing you much joy and happiness, and I will see you next time. Okay, a bit of a life update. My mother, it's the people taking care of her were on vacation, and out of my 3 weeks of vacation, I know I'm quite lucky having 3 weeks of vacation. I spent a bit over 2 weeks with her. At the beginning and at the end of my vacation, I went to see my son, I went to see colleagues who live in the south of France. So all of that was very nice, but I spent most of my time with her. And when I came back home, I was more exhausted than when I left, physically and mentally exhausted. People taking care of her were on vacation. I arrived to, I don't know why people have never checked on that, over 2 months worth of trash. That was outside of the house, in the bags, or in the big bins, in bags, outside of the bins, because the bins were full. And when I asked her, why was all that trash here, she could not tell me. She did not know. So I did have to deal with that. It was it was very difficult. And I emptied her fridge with expired stuff. And when I went back home the day after that, her internet went out. So it took me 3 days to fix that with the company and have them come over the next week. She could not answer. She has a cell phone, but it's a smartphone, and she would, just when I would call her, she would press the button and I would hang up, because you have to slide the finger that way for you. Anyway, I had all the neighbors help out, but the neighbors were, their patience is kind of running a bit low. And the people who are taking care of her are back from vacation, so for this week. So it's a bit of a relief for me. Everything I had managed during my vacation time. Her car was up for a checkup, and in France, you have to have checkups on a regular basis, or you can drive your car, or at least you can drive your car, but if you're arrested, you're out of the law. So I made an appointment for her. She did not go. She went there, took a second appointment for her, and she went, but at another place. Onyx is on the table. So when time was up, she did not go at the right place. So this morning was the third appointment I had made for her, and fortunately she went, and the car is going to be serviced today. So a lot of things on my mind with her once again. And one other thing is that I haven't told you, but I had a very big pain in my knee and in my hip, my right knee and my right hip. A few months back, I could barely walk. It was that painful. So when I went to see the doctor, my medical doctor, we went for a series of exams, mostly images, but the delay to have the appointments for the MRI and everything was quite long. And so I had the appointments at the beginning of this month. I have two of them, and plus two of regular x-rays. The medical doctor there he just put me down. Really, I was so depressed because basically I could not walk. I'm working with a working group for Nordic walk. He said, you stop that, it's too stressful, and you're not a young woman any longer, so you have to stop that. You have to walk by yourself at your own pace, and that's it. And I was, I gave up running. I gave up tennis playing 5 years ago because I had the first burst of arthritis. Of course, it's arthritis on my knee and my hip. I picked up walking after I gave up running and playing tennis. It was already something difficult for me, but I went over that. And now I have to give up walking. I'm not going to be seeing people only when I have friends over for dinner, or when I go for dinner with them, or at work. I want to see people or in stores. I want to see people also during my walking sessions. And anyway, there are 5 grades of arthritis in France, at least, and my knee is on the 4th one, and the hip is on the 3rd one. So I'm gonna go see a surgeon 2 weeks from now for another advice other than the one from the radio guy, the X-ray guy, and to decide what we're going to be doing. Because you can have hyaluronic acid, injections, but it doesn't work for everyone, and it's not for every cases. And also there are, of course, you can have a knee or a hip replacement, and so we have to balance the benefits and the risk and my age, and maybe I'm too young, but I don't want them. So this is what they told me 5 years ago. I'm too young for a knee replacement, but I don't want to tell me 5 or 10 years from now that I'm too old for it. So I will have to discuss that with the surgeon. He's a specialist of the lower limbs and of arthritis, so I guess I can't go see a better person. So we'll see that, but it's been quite difficult on me. So dealing with my mother, when I was dealing with that for myself, it was just too much. Add that, on top of that, the frustration with the little bags. The last few weeks were quite of a challenge. So how have you been doing? Have your knitting been able to bring you joy and happiness? Because I need to tell you, I had to dig deep into myself and my knitting to find joy and happiness. The knitting was not easy, so it was quite of a stress. My sewing was quite of a stress. I was waiting for mindless knitting to pick up on my mission accomplished. I was waiting for the yarn. There was a whole situation with the yarn again that was delayed, and I guess they lost the package, and then when they retrieved it took another 3 days to come to me. So my knitting has not been as of a source of joy and happiness as it used to be. It was quite of a challenge to me to go through all this time. Work has started again, so that was piling up on top of the rest. So yes, I had to dig deep into myself to find my joy and happiness, other than finding it into my knitting or my other do-it-yourself projects. So I do hope that your own knitting or other projects could bring you joy and happiness. And how are you doing? How are you managing? Are you happy where you are, or do you have to dig deep inside of yourself to keep it going and keep your mind up and keep your chin up? And yes, one of my joys are reading your comments. So I thank you very much for that. I thank you very much for being here with me. I'm sending you joy and happiness. The little ones, bits of joy and happiness I have, I send it out to you. And yes, I will see you next time.